Legends out of these teams. Nothing flashy, nothing fancy. Play a good old-fashioned meta game, and there's the Tom Kench ban.
Game 1 is the one where we
bad.
would expect it to be the most likely to be the standard League of Legends. Because SBENU's not on the red side, we won't have the opportunity for the last pick Sarsen special to bring out something crazy like the mid Quinn and the mid Kindred that he's been able to do on the red side. Expecting more standard picks on the blue side from SBENU, and here's the story. You see Flawless on the enemy team. Lee Sin has been almost perma-banned against him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, you know, of course, coming out of more solo queue than professional experience when it comes down to it at this point in their career. And, you know, Lee Sin, obviously, big in Korea in general, but a big solo queue pick. If you're trying to move up the ladder, you're going to see a lot of Lee Sin. So that's a pretty popular ban against some of these newer junglers. They generally come in with some really good mechanics.
SBENU have won one game. Flawless won the MVP on Lee Sin that game. We already knew he was a strong Lee Sin player, but that just completely reinforced that, ban it away. Graves actually banned on the blue side here, so maybe Flawless hasn't picked that one up.
All right.
Crush played a couple of games of Jungle Graves. He was the first Jungle Graves in Champions back in week 1, but didn't make too much of an impression, as unfortunately his whole team has struggled to do.
Yeah. Lysandra, so, you know, not the strangest bans in game 1 here. We'll see what the first pick is going to be. A lot of powerful picks left up.
Rise. Been 100% contested, is available as a first pick, and wow, Alistar taken over a first round Rise.
I mean, I think they're just trying to get Secret onto a comfort pick. Alistar is definitely his champion, and even though we did see one really bad game from Secret on Alistar, in general, I think he's been very good on it.
Everyone gets one. They get their mulligan, whether it's golf or real life. You can make the one big mistake, and we can still call him an Alistar specialist, even if it was a fairly putrid performance last time out on Alistar by Secret.
Oh, definitely. And are we actually going to see Rise fall to the 3rd phase of the draft here? This is kind of crazy. I mean, Rise has been banned every single game, as far as I'm aware. I don't think he got through once. Did he get through once?
It's been 2 Rise games.
Okay.
He's 1-1, but he's been 100% contested, picked or banned. So, look, there's still more phases of the draft, but surprising to see a power pick around the world fall this far already.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Have to see where that ends up. Corki, of course, a very strong mid lane pick right now. Not bad at ADC, of course, too.
And Longzhu that's mostly been flexing it.
That's right.
Mid lane Corki, I think, is super, super powerful. AD carry is fine. It's pretty much the Corki you remember. The matchup against Kalista is not ideal. Kalista can use her passive to step out of Phosphorus bomb range and win in trades, even early, but it is a flexible option. So I like flex picks. Even on the blue side, you can pull the wool over the eyes in some ways. So for now, Sarsen's hovering over the Corgi. Worth knowing that, of course, SBENU are the team that flexed Lysandra into support, of all things.
Yeah.
Last time out.
Which is cool. I approve of that. Right now, it looks like we might have Corki, the Daring Bombardier, and Ezreal, the Prodigal Explorer. That's what it is.
Don't put your phone away.
I've decided I'm going to just read all of the titles of the champions today. Let's see.
Really add to this champion select.
What's Varus? Scroll down here.
Something to do with an archer, I bet.
The Arrow of Retribution.
Wow.
That's right. I know Elise, the Spider Queen. She's not very creative with her titles, I guess. She's not even a spider 100% of the time.
Varus did see play yesterday.
Yes, that's true.
Kuro most impressively playing it for the Rocks Tigers. We might even see him return to that. And look at this. 5th round of the draft might where we only finally see a Rise pick.
Yeah. The Rogue Mage, Rise. We did see Thresh, the Chain Warden, picked by Soul, but it might be Trundle, the Troll King, chosen instead. You know what Alistar's title is?
What's Alistar's title?
The Minotaur.
That's pretty straightforward.
It's hard. I know. It's hard to really, prepare for that one. Ooh, and are we going to see Rengar maybe? Interesting.
Rengar jungle.
Not seen Rengar for a long time.
Could potentially see it. Not since the days of Score muddying his records.
No Rengar the Pride Stalker this time, though. Don't worry. We won't see him.
What's Riven?
The Exile.
She has the Blade of the Exile. That makes sense.
I would think Yasuo would be the Exile, but he's the Unforgiven. Yep.
Is that a movie?
The Unforgiven? Probably.
It's like
I think it's like a Metallica song, too. I don't know. Nar, the Missing Link. Picked along with Nidalee. Wait for it.
I'm waiting. I cannot wait to hear.
Where does N come in the alphabet?
after M and before O.
But what do you think about this Nidalee for Flawless? So, I mean, for a mechanical jungler, this is an interesting pick right now.
Speaking of interesting picks, I actually really do like, we've seen so many multiple AD carry lineups, and no mFire, the champion that, of course, has traditionally been one of the strongest at dealing with double AD. Everyone has said in the preseason that mFire is strong. He has strong itemization options. I like him here for Hippo. It's a new champion, but one that fits the meta after the top Nautilus and the Hecarim for Hippo.
I think it's a much better pick going with Malphite, Shard of the Monolith. You know, I think it's going to help them have a lot of initiation, maybe keep Varus and Kalista a little bit safer. But Nidalee, the Bestial Huntress for Flawless, interesting.
Very strong ganking jungler, buffed on this patch with the introduction of Runic Echo. Now it's an even faster clear. Jungle's very similar and plays very similar to Lee Sin, except the damage falls off in the late game. It doesn't have quite the suit of utility outside of the heal in the late game. So early game, probably stronger than actually Lee Sin, but late game really can fall off.
Yeah, I would say so. It seems like SBENU's going to need to make something happen early on. Can they do it? This is going to be an interesting series. You could see this one going to 3 games, couldn't you?
A siege comp versus a comp with only edge for wave clear. If they can deny enemy blue buff, wave clear will be an issue, and that's the way for them to really guarantee the siege.
Yeah.
In the late game team fights, Malphite, Elise, Thresh, they have a good front line on the side of EMFire.
Ooh, and Glacial Malphite too. The best Malphite skin besides Mecha Malphite. See, Glacial was my favorite until Mecha Malphite came out.
Riot keeps topping themselves, Doa.
That's right. Well, SBENU versus mFire, game number 1. Let's see who takes it. Time to get in the game. All right, welcome to Summoner's Rift for our first game of the night, our final day of week 2. SBENU Sonic Boom versus mFire. Sans Najin.
1 game win, 0 series wins between the two, so someone must win.
I know. Only 1 game won between both of these teams this season. It's been a rough start for both of these guys.
I do think SBENU have put together a really strong poke comp, but as you mentioned, there's kind of a timer, a window to their play. EMFire also have double AD and pretty good siege, but they have that backup of a really strong team fight comp, specifically with the Malphite and Elise potentially doing work.
True enough. All right. Well, pretty safe start for both of these teams, but you don't see. I feel like you don't see a lot of early invades these days anymore to place down some of those forward wards.
I mean, the change in the game start, you know, moving the game 15 seconds earlier for minions spawning, it's so hard to get those trinkets down. They're shorter term wards than they used to be as well.
Yep.
We've seen crazy scenarios where, for example, Jhin Air Trace will take Ignite, and they still won't know. They'll try and call a lane swap. Obviously, 1v2 as a squishy with Ignite is horrible, but they made it work that game. But if that went wrong, if the trade did come through, it would have been much harder. So you're taking a lot of guesses in the preseason or in the early season so far.
Yep, seems that way. Well, looks like the Prodigal Explorer and the Minotaur is starting at the Grump. And now the mid lane battle between the Daring Bombardier and the Arrow of Retribution.
Feels like a whole
There's
new
a bunch
game.
of Arrows of Retribution right there.
Feels like a whole new game when I know the full titles.
These titles, man. Well, we've got a lot of poke.
We have a lane swap also started by SBENU.
Yep.
As their bot side is now in the top side. Big reason to do this is that they have the better 1v2. Malphite's fine in a 1v2 situation or a jungle follow, but Nara, of course, has that ranged auto attack, so does better. But you can see EMFire are very slow to start the jungle follow. They certainly are surprised to see the lane swaps going on in secret, already in to do some disrupting.
Yeah, just kind of checking where Crush and Hippo are. And we'll see if he's able to disrupt Dutch. I don't think he's going to be able to. It's a little bit dangerous to walk up to an Elise with Cocoon and a Malphite right there. That's a lot of slowing and stunning that Alistar can't handle that early.
When it comes
Sasson taking some damage from Edge, though, in this lane.
Remember, he does have the corrupting potion, so does have plenty of regen between the two to see if there's going to be any big advantage in terms of uses or charges of that potion. And I guess the other thing to bring up, though, is that because if you're against EMFire, a team that, of course, is much newer, this line's only been together for weeks, let alone months, lane swapping, even if you don't have the advantage, is more likely to throw them off just because they have less scrim strategic practice. And just, you can assume that if you go for what should just be standard lane swaps, you're probably going to come out ahead.
Yep. And it looks like we're going to have one of those games where each team takes both of the outer turrets and top and bottom pretty quickly, and then a lot of milling around the mid lane. But if I know these two teams, I think we're going to see a little bit more aggression than we usually do.
See if both teams can start the reverse push. That's what we usually expect. Also expecting the top laner to get solo experiences. You can see both teams are smart. Both teams playing around their positions of power because it's a lane swap. SBENU have control of the top side of the map, and you can see from Crush Jungler on the bottom side of the map, completely dictated to by EMFire.
Yep. That's right.
Are staying together longer. Let's wait, see if they can get the reverse push here. You can see Nuclear and Secret really running towards bottom quickly.
They're going to try. It's going to take them a little bit long, though, to get there, I think.
They're probably not going to get there in time, realistically, but they might be able to stop any sort of reverse freeze coming through.
Whoa. Whoa, Hippo. Yeah, I got to be careful. Took a turret hit. We'll see if Secret can get close enough for the pulverize. Decides to disengage. Doesn't really know where the rest of mFire is, so I suppose it's better to play it safe.
I think it's actually quite like the Secret also had Triumph Roar. No, he actually had W. He had held the spell, so I thought there was a chance that he didn't have the displacement, but Nuclear wasn't in position, so no need to go crazy.
Yeah. Edge still winning the poke war against Saucin for the moment. But with those arrows, you do have a lot of range to do that poking with.
Now, what I would like to have seen from SBENU is Alistar going top to lane 2v2 or 2v3 in this situation with the Gnar. The one thing that I really liked the Rocks Tigers doing was whenever they had tier Ezreal, they would rotate him into a 1v1 in the bottom lane, allow him to just stack up that tier in a 1v1 matchup against a top lane that of course had been behind, and then you don't have to worry about having no combat stats against the recurve bow that Soul has already put together.
Yeah. You do have to wonder how that Israel's going to work out in this lane swap situation. Flawless, just going for the wolves here.
Flawless, importantly, keeping Hippo away from experience. Despite the fact that Nars had to recall and is now out of lane, he's 9 CS ahead of the mFire.
Yeah.
Plenty of effective items. The mFire especially has been harassed away from every camp, every piece of experience. If the lane swap continues to be mirrored, the big loser in this lane swap has been Hippo.
I would say so, and he's really struggled all season long, all 2 of their matches that they've played, but it's been rough. And we did mention earlier that 3 of those 4 games were Nautilus, and that's not the strongest pick. I believe the other one was Hecarim, right? Yeah, I remember that now, yeah.
I mean, Hecarim's way out of the meta as well, so...
And so, Hippo, I mean, yeah, Malphite is closer to the meta, but it's still a little bit outside, isn't it?
It's worth knowing that top Nautilus is not awful by any stretch, but the fact that he kept defaulting towards it after he tried to surprise with it in the first set told me that he just didn't really have much on top of that. So needs to really train himself on the Lissandras, for example, the flex picks. He hasn't been playing flex picks champions when flex picks have been the name of the game for top lanes so far this season.
And they're going to give the Rift Herald buff over to Crush, rather. So yet another team giving the Rift Herald bonus to a jungler. What do you think about that?
Again, like the only stats that it really gives the jungler who's not expected to spend so much time in lane is the 10% movement speed, so you can get between lanes faster. Honestly, to me, that's an indictment that the buff on the minions is not strong enough, because otherwise you feel like this should be a laner's buff, and the laners have consistently not picked up as Soul.
Soul may be in danger. There's some hidden people in the Tribush. Flash pulverizes, arrow misses, but they do knock Soul back against the wall. I don't think he's making out of this one. Summoner's Use trying to go for it. A little more damage will do it. There's first blood for Nuclear. Cougar comes in. There's a teleport. Crush trying to flank. TP coming down from SBENU as well. Cougar knocked out of the fight. Nice 3-man pulverized by Secret. Is it enough for the disengage? Looks like it is. Soar comes down. Saucin rotates over just to keep them safe, and SBENU gonna come away with that with a little bit of extra gold and no one falling on their side.
And you can really see the communication differences between the two teams. Teleport was slow from EMFire, specifically from Hippo. Corki was the first one to rotate. OK has the Valkyrie, but still, all rotations were in the advantage of SBENU. They pick up the kill, answer the teleport. Pretty happy.
Whoa, that's a crit plus a Thunderlord's proc, isn't it?
Not a crit. Doesn't have any crit. Could potentially be.
Just a Sheen proc.
Sheen proc and Q is with Thunderlords. It's apparently about 300 damage already.
Hey man, in my video game experience, any extra big number that randomly happens is a critical hit. He rolled a 20 on that one as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, effectively, he won that trade hands down.
Oh yeah.
With the Thunderlords proc Q.
True enough.
And this is only getting into a bigger problem for Hippo. 2 levels behind.
Ugh.
And 26 CS behind. We have Flame in the second series, but we may certainly have a Flame Horizon in our first series.
Yep. The suffering of the Hippo is suddenly the theme for this season.
I feel like I've watched some documentaries on the suffering of the Hippo.
Probably.
I feel like we're getting a live reenactment right now.
They're dangerous though, you know, I mean, as we know, Hippos kill more people every year than sharks and lions and things like that.
This Hippo doesn't look like it's going to be killing anyone,
it's
though.
not a very
malnourished Hippo on the top lane.
Yeah, I don't think this Hippo's very dangerous.
Oh boy, we're going to zoomed in packaged Sassen.
Let's take a close look at Sassen's package, but we'll see where he decides to take it.
It's like almost the whole screen there.
I guess so. And more pushing to the top lane tier 2. Sassen decides to use his package to back out in the lane.
Massive wave. They needed to bring Crush to the top just to be able to guarantee that Hippo could pick up the experience from those minions. Actually,
oh, diving time. That's a big spear onto Edge, but Gugur there with the shield from the Lantern. Oh, arrow, or rather ultimate used by Edge, which is sort of a kind of arrow, but it's actually Chains of Corruption. But
again,
why? He's shooting chains out of a bow. What am I supposed to call it?
That's a fair question. Again, the rotation was good from SBENU. If you look at the item purchases, for example, Flawless rushed down the Runic Echo, whereas Elise had gone for the Sightstone. They have much better combat stats across the board. Go for those forces, look for those turret dives. Didn't get the flash out of Edge, but with that pressure, Dragon should be just incidental for SBENU.
Yeah, it's nice to get that first Dragon buff, but I mean, I think we're really seeing so far SBENU just kind of outplaying mFire at every stage of the game so far.
It's just worrying for mFire season where this is probably what we expect. I feel like all 9 other teams should thoroughly outclass SBENU, short of maybe CJ, and CJ already have their first win on the board. The jury's out on how strong that team will be, and after March it'll be a new team again, but SBENU looking good so far. Clean first 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. We've seen, you know, exceptionally strong performances from these SBENU players in the past. You know, even last year. Whoa, Sor tries to catch him with the ultimate. That does not work at all.
Shouldn't talk him up, apparently. He's got performance anxiety.
Dude, he just completely missed that Gnarl. You don't see that very often.
He whiffed it. He tried to use it from the max range of the animation, but
yeah, I mean,
ended up just looking silly.
Tried to be tricky, maybe to do enough damage to Hippo to force him out of lane and take the turret, but
the Mega Gnar ult being down still isn't going to be significant against a no mana 2 level behind mFire. mFire's still going to be zoned for the majority of this laning phase. They need to help him, but there's not much more mFire can do.
True.
That's right. Oh, wow. Down those Krugs.
True Silver champion on the Krugs. Or True Silver,
how's
your
True Shot
Barrage.
Going,
it's tough to cast multiple games at once, guys. Did I just say that?
He wielded his True Silver champion, killed that Krug.
Wow. I knew it was going to start happening eventually. True Shot Barrage. It's true something.
Hearthstone's ruining your casting, Doa. The fans have already suggested this for quite a while.
I don't know. Gotta do what you gotta do. Hippo's finally getting some CS, but Rift Herald will go over to SBENU. Didn't see who they gave that buff to. Might have been Corki. Might have been Sassen, yeah.
We get the kill notification. That was the Corkster.
Right, but that's just who killed it. That's not who gets the buff.
You're probably right on that. I'm not 100% clear, but
yeah,
he
did get it.
Maybe it is the person that claims it then.
I think when you kill it, it just shows who killed it, but you don't know who got the buff until you actually look at it.
My mistake. I wasn't clear on that.
Well, now you are.
Itemization has to be a little bit different from Edge. Oh boy, those spears are already hurting. Level 9, Runic Echo, Nidalee already doing work, but it's going to be the Ghost Blade Rush, of course. More of Malmortius does build nicely, but you look down the SBENU lineup, there's some mixed damage, but the Ghost Blade power spike, specifically even just to get the movement speed when you pop it, isn't more important in the early game than the more that, of course, Edge will eventually itemize it to.
Right. Very true.
Wave clear wars.
Fun times. At least Sassen has that little buff for his minions, but it doesn't make your minions any tankier, so against a Varus, they're still going to get cleared just as fast. It doesn't really help you too much.
I really do wonder how that buff will be tweaked. I feel like
it needs a change for sure.
Hippo.
Oh, Hippo stunned. Here comes Flawless. Looks like they're going for the gank. Now the ult connects, and Hippo slaughtered.
Really good pathing from Flawless. It's not just that the mFire was behind. Look at the itemization. At the time, only had Ninja Tabi and the Chain Vest. I believe he might have had a Ruby Crystal, but definitely didn't have the full upgraded Ruby Crystal. He was going to explode to the
Chance
damage.
of Corruption connects with Soar. Could be in a little bit of trouble here. He doesn't have a lot of health, but it looks like he'll be able to leap to safety.
Yeah, playing around, no health, no magic resist, gets them a kill, they get the turret, they rotate to mid. Look at SBENU playing this one really smartly.
Yeah.
It's been tight so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really smooth, and the mFire has had a real hard time adjusting to this lane swap. It's gotten Hippo way far behind, and I think SBENU's done a good job of exploiting that.
I like Soar's itemization, definitely on the aggressive side of things. Hard to say whether he's actually going to be rushing into a Sterix Gauge. Could be a Frozen Mallet.
Yep.
But Hex Drinker. Just keep pushing in the mFire. mFire for now is going to be an ult bot and nothing else. He is so far behind in stats.
You know, and the thing is that this Malphite, it's a little bit of a surprising pick, because when you look at the team that SBENU has, all of those champions can escape pretty easily, you know? So, first of all, it's unlikely that Malphite's going to find an opportunity to get a big unstoppable force, you know, unless SBENU makes a massive positioning error. And even if he does connect with it, all of the champions have a way to just hop away from whatever comes afterwards.
It's worth noting that SBENU's comp is very predictable. You look down this comp, they are completely tuned to be standing under a turret, sieging it down, and having basically Alistair play goalie to headbutt people away. So Engage is what was needed for a top laner as a last pick. Engage is what they picked for. Okay, it's going to be tricky to pull off, but Hippo has already shown that he struggled on, say, for example, a Nautilus with targeted Engage.
Right.
Malphite, if you pull it off against double AD, 6-item Malphite, going to be unkillable and be dealing with exactly what Corki, Nidalee, Ezreal want to do. It's just that he's so far behind that he's just going to die to the Corki burst damage, let alone the double AD.
I think so. I mean, the most ideal for situation right now, wow, that's a lot of damage on Nagooger. The most ideal situation for mFire right now is to get like a Malphite ultimate into a Varus ultimate, into like Thresh Flay or Fate's Call or something. Like they have a decent wombo combo with a lot of CC, but they're so far behind, like you mentioned, anyone who goes in is probably just going to get blown up almost instantly.
And what you're talking about is ideal in an even game, but this Malphite will explode in the backline. You cannot look for that fight until it's 2-3-item Malphite. So honestly, the ideal for right now is that SBENU call some sort of peace treaty and refuse to take any more objectives and give them some farm time.
Well, obviously that's not happening. They just took the mid turret, now they're just going to rotate down for a dragon, and I think mFire may have to fight this. What do you think? Is it do or die time? They're getting poked so hard already, though.
It's definitely not do or die time, but unless they get the most perfect CC chain and instantly delete one of Sarsen and Nuclear, they're done in a team fight.
Yeah.
5,000 gold at 16 minutes in a 2-0 game lets you know just how far ahead SBENU are.
That's crazy, man. A 5,000 gold lead at 16 minutes, that is massive. Second dragon easily taken, just soloed by Flawless.
He's way ahead. Going to build into a Rod of Ages. Obviously going to be decent timing, but not fantastic. You can tell how confident he is that he's got upgraded boots and isn't even worried about his Rod of Ages timing.
Yeah, I would say so. Wow.
Malphite got his first item, Sunfire, but is still a health and ideally a magic resist item short of being team fight ready.
I feel like we've seen a lot of games this season where one team is able to get a big lead, but then they have trouble cracking the base, and I don't think that's going to be the case for SBENU. They've got so much poke that when it comes down to sieging those inhibitor turrets, they shouldn't really have any harder of a time than they've been having already.
Look, we looked at the Nidalee pick during Picks and Ban. Nidalee does fall off hard, but Runic Echo's a nice little power spike for early game. She's going to finish her next AP item. They're going to start sieging at let's say 22 minutes. That Nidalee poke is going to hurt a lot next to Corki.
Yeah.
And it's not till 35 minutes, not till magic resist items that damage falls off. This game should be irreparably over by then. We talked about SBENU having an early timer. Honestly, they've shown up for class early. They've done some extra work. They're looking great.
Well, yeah, I mean, any Nidalee spears that land and don't do as much damage later in the game is going to be just fine because of the amplified damage coming in from Nuclear and Sarsen on that Corki and Ezreal.
Just make it happen, break that base early, take advantage of just how powerful you've been in the early game. Unless SBENU mill around and really misallocate their resources, they should be just fine.
Right. And right now, everyone recalling and buying.
It is scary that the team that's opting into a late Rod of Ages, opted into tier in the laning phase, is winning this hard, because of course, you're going to get extra power spikes when Mirror Mana is completed, when Rod of Ages is completed. And there's no sort of, there's only a single tier on the mFire side when it comes to scaling items into the late game.
Oh, I think there's going to be a lot more tiers on the mFire side before the end of this one.
I mean, really though, don't they expect this result? mFire couldn't, I don't think there's any opponent mFire comes into expecting to win.
Oh no, they're not favored against anyone this season, that's for sure, but...
Ooh!
Oh, wow.
That's one spear.
Ouch, yeah.
That lets
Max
you know
range,
that one full rotation from Forest will kill from full health, so...
Yeah, I mean, if he lands that spear at max range and then gets over to him fast enough, you know.
Soul has to back away.
Yeah. Soul should be okay against that kind of thing.
Credit to Hippo. He's held back the CS advantage in top. It's only 20 still.
Yeah.
And he's got some magic resist now. Again, this is the point where a deletion from Hippo, if they really capitalize, let's say, Unstoppable Force into the Fate's Call knockup, the instant kill Sarsen and Nuclear, they can definitely trade favorably in a fight. But again, it's a big if.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that this game isn't over. It's just a matter of if the mFire can put together an extremely good team fight later in the game, you know, before they lose all of their turrets and a couple inhibitors and stuff. Uh-oh, grab onto Secret. They're going to go in on this one. Secret overextending perhaps a bit. There's the box put down. Secret will ult, gets caught by the Chains of Corruption too, and that's going to be a kill for Soul. The mFire picks one up. Meanwhile, though, that mid lane turret taking a lot of damage. Looks like they're going to try to cut them off. I mean, back in the mid lane, that turret will barely survive for the moment.
It's a really poor teleport from Hippo. He didn't have any offensive ward, so he did a defensive ward teleport as Malphite. Would have had to flash ult into an Ezreal, who, for example, could just Arcane Shift away, and Nidalee that could just pounce away. The chances of getting a Malphite ult off there was so low that farming, honestly, was smarter than doing that defensive teleport.
Yeah. Nuclear missed all the minions with that True Shot Barrage. Wanted to connect with champions, but that's going to let this turret take a little bit more damage. Edge's arrows have been really good this game. He's been very accurate with them. But they need more than Varus landing arrows to win this game.
Definitely going to be plenty of arrows. Level 12, so has 5 points in the queue for sure. Has blue buff. Cooldown reduction means that he's close to 40%. So the poke is there, and it's worth noting that SBENU don't have the best engage option. It's only an Alistar or Mega Gnar flank that really allows them to engage. They're so much more comfortable here, playing under the enemy turrets.
Pretty much. All right, this is it.
One auto
Trying to
attack.
siege on this turret. Shouldn't take much. There we go. Excuse me, 2 auto attacks, Papa Smithy.
My apologies.
Oh, from downtown. Oh,
That was
it's
optimistic.
pretty wide. Yep.
Very optimistic.
Well, it's a low cooldown. You can give it a try.
It's true.
Nothing wrong with that.
40% CDR Ezreal is just the norm these days.
Yep. Dragging up in about a minute, a little over. And so SBENU making their recalls to get ready for that.
Really not a fan of this Sterix Gauge Gnar that's been coming out quite a bit. We saw Frozen Mallet Gnar earlier this week do really excellent things in a long lane. It's always been one of those options you can pick up to really ensure you get lots of auto attack damage, specifically in mini Gnar form, getting the hyper procs multiple times. Sterix Gauge, it just feels so conditional. It feels like you're putting a conditional champion in Mega Gnar where you have to get into that form, use that ult effectively with a situational item rather than just something like Frozen Mallet or just general tank stats that really are more consistent across a game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. But it is interesting to see some variation on the builds. You know, why not? Good to experiment.
Sarsen's going Burst Corki. We've seen a lot of mid Corkis go this side. Trinity Force into Infinity Edge for the potential of, what, 1,000 damage auto attack with your Trinity Force proc.
It's not too bad. I'll take it. And Hippo, yeah, catching up in CS a little bit now. And to be fair, SBENU does need to be aware of where Hippo is.
And they haven't grown their lead, SBENU. They were 5,000 ahead, now only 6,000. They're looking at a third dragon. Nara's in the top lane. Let's see what strategic decision SBENU make. They have some decent flank wards.
Yeah, they need to poke. They don't really need to get this Dragon. They could just give it up, but it looks like they want to try to force mFire off. Dragon taken by mFire. They're going to go in. Flash is used to try to escape. Secrets engaged. Cocoon onto Flawless. Not able to participate too much. Hippo used his ult. Didn't get a lot done with it. Now mFire on the run. Soul hasn't pulled Cougar in just yet. There's a kill coming in already for Crush, and the mFire turning this one around surprisingly. Soar a bit low, needs to be careful here. mFire winning this fight for the moment, but it could turn. Saucin with a kill there. People starting to get low. Secret over the wall, nice headbutt pulverize, and indeed, SBENU turning it around big time. Nuclear and Saucin stayed safe enough.
Goodbye, Edge.
Yep, and that's a triple kill for Nuclear, and that is going to be an ace. It was looking good for mFire for the moment. Whoa! Going really fast, too.
Secret.
They wanted to end that one quick.
Secret really gave them a window back into that fight, but honestly, they should never have taken it. The Dragon died. Now was auto-attacking the inhibitor turret. They could have just got an inhibitor turret. They decided to fight. Okay, they made that clear call. I think it was the wrong one, but they went for it. They don't have much engaged, Doa. The Gnar ult was once again a scoop onto nothing. It was only the re-engage by Alistar that spared the fight. Just watch. Soul comes in as Mega Gnar. That's why he comes in, because he's the Mega Gnar. You're looking for the Gnar ultimate. He's the only true engage. Wait for the Gnar ult, because it needs to be big, otherwise they'll get nothing. The Gnar ultimate scoops Crush to safety, and then SBENU don't have any more engage. Secret's already chunked out. The fight keeps going. It's looking like mFire are going to win it hands down, even with the edge but watch Secret. From out of range, the headbutt pole onto 2 is massive, and they win the fight from there. So SBENU are save blushes. They shouldn't have teleported in. The timing was off. The only thing they had was Mega Gnar, and the Mega Gnar wasn't great. Source now missed 2 of those Gnar ultimates. Regardless, so far ahead, they still win the fight.
That's more of the Secret Alistar play that we're used to, but I was really keeping an eye on Hippo in that fight, and he decided to ult Soar and Secret when they were coming in, I guess to protect his carries, but I really feel like you need to kind of take that Malphite into the back line to disrupt their damage dealers, even if you are a little bit squishy.
Exactly. His role is to tie up Nuclear and Saucin for as long as possible. Realistically, they don't have the follow-up damage to kill anyone just yet, and he's not tanky enough to last forever. But if he's peeling, then the team comp just falls apart.
Yeah. You gotta get back in the carries if you're that Malphite. He did the opposite.
Well, look, regardless of the decision making, now 9,000 are the gold lead. Nuclear is getting massive. Miramana completed, not far away from the Blade the Ruin King. Always going to be tough to tie up, specifically in Ezreal, but Corki as well, and only going to get harder for Hippo.
Pretty much. It's a sad Hippo now.
Sour's really going heavy on the damage front.
Why not? I mean, you've got such a big advantage, and you can blow people up so easily. You've got that rather immobile Varus, immobile Kalista. So yeah, might as well just load on the damage, huh?
It makes his split push that much stronger. It does mean that the team that has slightly superior team fighting is going to, again, keep that superiority, but the fact that they won a team fight already with the inferior team fight comp shows that Saul probably doesn't have too much to worry about in either fashion.
Yeah.
It also means, and the fun thing you see, Graves will go this build as well, Hysterics Gauge and more of Mount Mortius. You hit that low health bar, you suddenly get a burst of maximum health, a big magic damage shield, attack speed, lifesteal, and spell vamp. You just get so many extra stats when you're DPS down if you go into both of these shield items.
Right. Kind of seems like, too, if Kallista's locked up, mFire doesn't really have any consistent damage in team fights. Varus more of an AD caster, and immobile enough that he'll probably just be, running for his life at the beginning of a lot of team fights. So, where does the damage really come from on mFire?
Will Kalista go for these more defensive builds that we've seen the likes of Stitch pull off, with the Hysterics Gauge and more Mount Mortius as well? That seems to be the build du jour, but for now, looks like building into more attack speed. You're right, though. It's going to have to be Soul finding a way to free hit. I think the bigger problem for mFire is that the poke from SBENU is hitting. They have an Aegis finish now, but not the Locket. They don't have the most tanky members.
Yep.
If that poke hits, it doesn't matter if you have a better teamfight comp, if you're all entering the fight at half health.
Yeah. That's really it. Dragon in a minute. We'll see what SBENU has in mind to try to secure that.
good defensive pink wards, but the vision line's being moved up. They have to be wary. If Hippo is not in vision, they just need to keep kiting backwards.
Yep. And Sassen's having a great game. Over 300 CS in 28 minutes. Nice little bit of poke there. And has gone 2-0-2 in fights. Looking good on that Corki.
Now it's going to push up the lane. Let's see if they can recreate the situation they had where, in my mind, they should have just kept split pushing. They're going to try and get this wave to top. mFire already doesn't look like he wants to opt into the 1v1 in the top lane. So let's see if they can force a strategic misplay from EMF.
Right.
That's good, decent defensive vision. So nah, for now, can keep pushing.
Yep. Wave clear is okay for mFire.
Very
now,
Baron
at what
centric.
point? True. At what point, if you're SBENU, do you start just baiting Baron?
It's not what the comp's for. That's the issue, is that we've seen teams, for example, with poke comps try and bait Baron, even though that's not what their comp's around. It's more about lane assignments, oh boy, as the poke is hitting, but poking under structures. If you're getting into a corridor, remember, you need to get in a very narrow corridor to start this Baron. Suddenly Hippo can do massive things with the ultimate. Suddenly the engage. If we're talking about some sort of wombo engage, think about this. The unstoppable force into the Varus ultimate, into getting knocked up by the Fate's Call. That's 5 seconds of CC, of immobility. There is a teamfight EM5 can win around the Baron, but in an open area, in these long lanes like we're seeing on the screen at the moment, very hard for EMFire to layer their CC effectively.
Yep, certainly seems that way. Third dragon already for SBENU.
So you might ask, okay, how does SBENU win? And the big thing there is about getting EMFire to overcommit. For example, set up one of these split pushes, force Hippo to teleport, and then have that situation where either Nah takes an inhibitor or you get a free Baron. But for now, it's actually EM5 that might pick up the free objective.
Yeah, they're just going to give up that turret. I think SBENU thought it was safe because there were no minions, but Hippo just tanking it. And Secret, is he going to go in? Not quite, but they do manage to keep the turret alive for the moment.
Going in is not really a thing they can do. Only really flash headbutt pulverize, which is risky to say the minimum.
It's okay. I think it's perfectly fine.
It's hilarious how flash headbutt pulverize is basically a Malphite ultimate.
It is. You get a lot more often though. Well, at least the headbutt pulverize part.
On shorter cooldown, obviously. Triple QSS completed by SBENU. Well, the picks are now looking harder.
Yeah, well, you don't want to get locked up by that chain of corruption ultimate from Edge.
The 3 QSS says, okay, 1 CC might get me, but no multiple layering. It seems like they're already playing around the best case scenario, and now they're actually starting that Baron.
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious to see what EMFire's team fight is supposed to do, and
vision.
EMFire does not know this Baron is happening. Well, they know now, but it's too late. Easy Baron for SBENU. Here comes the fight, though. TP coming in, but it's kind of behind. Big two-shot barrage, big miss. Hippo gets there late, and it is too late for EMFire to really make anything out of this.
Really big mistake from EMFire to just lose vision around the Baron. They give away a completely free Baron, and not even a dragon to answer it.
SBENU's kind of running circles around EMFire at this point.
I mean, SBENU's decisive. This is another thing they've struggled to do, is to be decisive in their decision-making. They realize, okay, we've got a pink ward down, we've got some defensive vision. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to close. They knew how much damage they did. Double AD smashes down the Baron, and they pick it up in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be the Siege comp with Baron, Doa.
Yeah.
Good luck dealing with that.
I mean, it's kind of the ideal scenario for SBENU, right? I mean, you're running a Siege comp, you got that easy Baron, didn't lose anyone. Now, even though Varus has good wave clear, you can just start putting a ton of pressure on these turrets.
He's the only one that can really help clear these waves, so the poke between these 3 is crazy.
Hippo trying to be sneaky, hiding in that brush, but nice trinket used by Nuclear spots him.
They have pink wards in the inventory, so when they do finally commit to the 4 or 5 man siege, they do have ways to try and navigate around Hippo, but SBENU's playing this really safe. They want to bring up all 3 waves and then just walk between them. They're so far ahead with Baron, they know they can take the shortest route between the different lanes, mid to top, mid to bot, and break the base with this buff.
Pretty much. Well,
there's a storm coming. Slowly.
Is there?
I think so. Probably. Corki's pulled up the lane. All right, all 3 lanes are pushed. Now it should be siege time.
I would say so. All right. And what can EMFire do? They have to run back and forth between the lanes. They can't defend all 3.
And they're losing in every lane. Remember, there's ranged auto attackers in every lane as well for SBENU.
Hello. Hippo decides to just go tangle with Soar and end up going on the worse end of that trade and not being in position to do any fancy ultimates here.
Honestly, just tried to get in and use his E to try and slow attack speed, but he can't do anything against Soar. Almost soloing down. And look, there's already one inhibitor turret down.
Yeah. Mid taken out by SBENU already, and they can rotate however they want to at this point, probably going to the bot. Ube looking for a hook, doesn't get it. Flawless hops over the wall. And Sawson nearly takes out the bottom turret by himself. The minion should get it. Meanwhile, top turret falls to Soar. Things falling apart completely for mFire right now.
All 3 inhibitor turrets down. This is a really good example of a poke comp with Baron, just taking everything, not just one turret, breaking all 3 inhibitor turrets.
I mean, mFire hasn't made it too tough for them.
Look at this pulled out angle. There's just nothing they can do. Corky's over here. Now they're going to finally force into mid. Forcing on a Nidalee with QSS. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Flawless able to just get out of that one pretty quickly.
I just really love that pulled out angle because you can see there was no winning. Every lane they were getting severely outpushed. As you mentioned, another inhibitor down.
Yep, pretty flawlessly executed poke comp by SBENU. But the mFire not really putting up any resistance. Two-shot barrage doesn't hit. No, never mind. Here comes the resistance. Now Hippo dives in, but again, just not very tanky. Gets blown up immediately. Doesn't even really do anything with the ult. And this one is all but over. Crushed. Cougar, goodbye. Soul very, very low. Edge the only one with any health remaining, but SBENU, despite being poked out a bit, should be able to just kill all 3 of these inhibitors. They're already dead, and we'll see if they can end the game right here.
Well, there's going to be 3 super minion waves pushing in very, very shortly. No way for a defense.
Nuclear nearly just solos Soul.
Really accomplished, smart performance. Sawson's going for more.
Yeah, Sawson does a ton of damage with this Corki. They're just having fun with it now. Flawless jumps into the base. A little bit of extracurricular activities, we could say, I guess. There goes the Nexus, and SBENU takes a very clean, very quick, very dominating game 1.